Hey everybody, VP here, and I'm going to share with you a one-card game that I created for a one-card challenge at the website thegamecrafter.com. If you're not familiar with thegamecrafter.com, I'd urge you to go check that out and see what it's all about. It's basically a print-on-demand board game, card game, service. A lot of indie designers will go there and you can basically make your own games. It's a great place to find interesting and fun card games that you can play, or board games that you won't necessarily find in a store. So if you're looking for a unique gift of some sort, I would encourage you to go to thegamecrafter.com and check out all the games that are available there. My upcoming game, The Mean Streets of Meer, will be sold on that site as well once we get it to the point where it's ready to go. But anyways, from time to time, the Game Crafter hosts these contests, and one of the contests this time is the one card challenge. You had to come up with the rules, fit it on one card. You had to be able to play the game from the rules you wrote on the card. You can have accompanying instructions and, of course, the videos to help people understand it. But the idea is that somebody can pick up your game and just play it right away by using the rules that you came up with that are on the card. So this is the front and the back of the card, basically. And this here, Markets of Meer, is my one-card challenge. And now we'll show you how to play. All right, so to play Markets of Meer, all you really need is a six-sided dice. You're going to need some pen and paper, or pencil paper, whatever you need, a writing utensil and some paper to keep track of score, basically. And then you will also need 5 unique tokens. In this case, I got a red checker, a white checker, a black checker, a quarter, and then I just got a little pawn here. You can use whatever you can find around the house. You can use any of those, whatever will fit on the poker card. And I should say, I am playing this, I'm recording this video in Tabletop Simulator, and the cards have been blown up for demonstration purposes in this video, but the actual card is a poker-sized card, so quite a bit smaller. But for demonstration purposes, I thought this would be the best way to go with it, so hopefully it will help you out. So yeah, those are the things that you need. And then for setup, obviously every player is going to pick a token that they're going to use. And then each player will copy this table right down here. Let me move over right here. Boom. They will copy this table to their scrap paper that they have. It doesn't have to be exact like this. You pretty much just need this to keep track of the shares that you're going to get and the money that you get for selling those shares. So everybody will need to copy this down, and then one player, known as the marketeer, will also have to copy the market value table down on their sheet. This consists of all the shares. Their opening value starts at 2, and then whenever a bust is rolled, we'll talk about that a little bit later, they are responsible for checking off or marking off one of these boxes. If you get 3 boxes marked off, that is the end of the game, and the richest player at the time loses, and the second richest player wins, because stock market crashes and rich people lose. So that's to simulate that there. So you ask, well, how do you win then? Well, you got to win by acquiring one of 3 different shares, either Balto's Bears, Nuketown, or Zibbler Casino. These are businesses in the seedy streets of this metropolis known as Meer. They are actually criminal fronts for criminal organizations, but you're just an unsuspecting person, a civilian coming to the city for the first time because somebody said, hey, there's money to be made in Meer. So you've went to Meer and you've approached these various brokers that are here that have promised to take your money and make you millions. But yeah, that's kind of the overview of what you're doing in this game. So anyways, yes, back. Enough of the lore. Let's get back to the game. Next, you will roll a dice to see who goes first. Whoever rolls the lowest number is the person that will go first. If there's a tie, the tie will go to the oldest player between those rollers. Whoever's the oldest between the tying players will go first. For the gameplay of Markets of Meer, you just kind of follow this card here and kind of do what it says. So the first step is to pick a broker. So you'll take your token here. Each player will take a token one at a time and place it on one of these guys here. When you're placing your token, you're basically saying, I'm going to use whatever their power is for the day. And then once you've picked a guy, another player cannot pick the same guy. They will have to pick one of these other guys that are left over. Once you pick your guy, though, you will immediately do whatever its ability says, if it applies right now. So in this case, Douglas here ignores bust rolls. So if a bust is rolled today, they won't have to do the bad stuff that the bust makes you do. It's like a safe spot, basically. And then they get to roll the dice for the charts in the next couple of steps. After you've picked your guy, you then have to pick one share. Number 2 here, pick one share. So you can pick Baltos Bears. The shorthand for that is BB. You can pick Nuketown, the shorthand is NT, and then of course you could also pick Zibbler Casino, and the shorthand is ZC. So you pick your broker, you lose your checker under the card. Tabletop Simulator is a little wonky sometimes. But yeah, you pick your broker and then you pick a share. So I picked Douglas and I'll pick Baltos Bears. So then on your sheet here, you'll mark off a Baltos Bears share by putting an open circle next to it. So you just put one little open circle next to it to indicate you have a share. And then the next player goes, and they have to pick one of these other open players. So let's say this guy picks Fats. His pick is a high risk share. So now he picks his share, but instead of just being a regular open share, it is a high risk share. And the high risk share kind of goes in its own little area on your scrap sheet. You want to keep these two separate so you know that these are high risk shares. What's a high risk share? Well, thankfully the card tells you right here. High risk shares are worth double the MV when you sell, but you cannot sell until the end of day 5. So any other shares you're able to sell down here in the number 4 sell or keep phase of the day. But high-risk shares you cannot sell until the end of the game, basically, the end of day 5. Also, when a bust is rolled, you only lose one high-risk share, and you have to lose the highest valued one at the time. So that's kind of a good thing. If you just have regular open shares, you lose all your open shares. And a share remains open until you decide to sell them. But with the high-risk shares, if a bust is rolled, you only lose one, but it has to be your highest value share. And because you do that, you also lose double its current market value from your bank. And yes, you can go negative. So if we look at our chart here, let's say he had a Zibbler Casino and high-risk share, he would subtract 4 from his bank account. So he would be, if he just started, he would be at -4 in his bank account, and he would have to, of course, make up the difference from there, because the high-risk shares are worth double at the end of the game, but if a bust is rolled, then they cost you double right now. So that's kind of where the risk factor comes in for that. All right, and then the next player will pick another player. Let's say they pick 10 King here. So 10 King will pick he sells his pick at -1 its current market value. So let's say he picks Nuketown. He's like, okay, I'll get Nuketown. He immediately sells it. So he would write, he would do the open circle, indicating that he has the share. He would put it next to the NT for Nuketown. and then he would immediately fill in the open circle indicating that he has sold the share. And he sells the share at -1 its value. So in this case, -1. 2 minus 1 is 1. So he would just get an immediate $1 in his bank here. So he would mark down 1 on his scrap paper at the bank section. And then finally, if you're the fourth person in a 4-player game, you get stuck with what's ever left. So in this case, he would have to pick Hamlet. Hamlet's ability is he can +1 or -1 the market value of any share. So he can decide, you know what, I'll push up the value of Balto's Bears this turn. So then the marketeer will cross off this 2 for Balto's Bears and update it with a 3. That's picking your broker, picking your share, and then next you roll for the event. And the person that rolls is Douglas. Douglas always rolls the dice. So let me get the dice here. And you would just roll the dice and see what the result is. In this case, it's an automatic bust. So when a bust is rolled, you lose all your open shares, 1 high risk, and then the marketeer reduces the value of all shares by 1. And then that concludes the third step of the day. And then we go to the sell or keep phase. If a player has any open shares, look at me throwing tokens all over the place. But if anybody has any open shares, you can either sell them or keep them. If you sell them, then you just get whatever their market value is at the time, and you have to sell all your shares. So you can't pick one share and then keep the other ones. You have to sell all your shares at once or sell none of your shares. And if you keep them, then you just keep the shares until the next day. And then for the final step of the game, you do the advance the day. That's where this token comes in. So we start at 1, we move to 2, and then you slide your tokens just off the card above where they were, because now the person that picks a broker first is whoever played 10 king in the last round. So you would go from left to right. So black checker would pick first. They could pick 10 king again if they wanted, or they could pick one of these other guys. And then so on until you get to the end. And that is how you play a round of Markets of Meer. Let me explain the table here a little bit more. So as you can see, you roll the dice and then you check the table here to see what the result says. If it's a 1, you roll twice on the shares, and whenever a table entry over here tells you to roll for a share, that refers to these numbers. So if I were to roll this dice for a share, let's just roll it really quick, 6. So 5 and 6 is Zibbler Casino. So that would mean that Zibbler Casino gets whatever the bonus says. So for number 1, roll twice on the shares, +2 market value to both of the, whatever the rolls are. They will get a +2 market value. And you get another share of the one you picked. So if you picked Balto's Bears in this second phase of the day, you would get a second Balto's Bears. So you would just add another open circle to your portfolio, indicating that you now have 2 shares of Balto's Bears. If a 2 is rolled during the events, you +1 the market value of the share. So whenever it says of the share, you just roll the dice. Douglas, again, he's the one that does all the rolling. And then you compare the results. So Nuketown would get a +1 market value. So whoever is the marketeer will cross out whatever the value of Nuketown is and add 1 to it. And that becomes the new market value for that. Number 3, pick a second share of your choice. You just do what it says. There's no additional roll for that choice. If a 3 is rolled here, everybody just gets to pick a second share of your choice. So, and again, these bonuses apply to everybody. So it's not just Douglas rolling the dice. It applies to everybody. So in this case, everybody will get to pick a second share of your choice. And in this case, you don't have to pick the same share that you picked in in phase 2. You could pick a different share if you wanted, or you could pick the same share. It's up to you. If a 4 is rolled, that is a -1 market value to the share. So the marketeer would just update the market value. Let's see what, just for example, so Baltos Bears gets a -1 market value. And the marketeer would mark that off. And the number 5, if a 5 is rolled, a -2 to the market value. So as you can see, the market values will go up and down throughout the game, and it's up to you if you want to hold on to your shares or sell them here in step 4. So the other thing I want to discuss really quickly here before I let you guys go is the set bonuses here. If you sell sets of shares, you get their market value plus a bonus. High-risk shares cannot be sold as sets. So if you manage to hold on to 3 of a kind, you could sell those 3 for their market value, and you would also get a +3 bonus on top of that. In this instance, let's say you sell Baltos Bears at a 2 value. So you would get 6 for selling 3 shares of Baltos Bears, and since you had 3 of a kind sold, you would add 3 bonus cash to that. So 6 plus 3 would be 9. So you would update your bank to have 9 cash. Some of the other set bonuses you can get is a 5 of a kind, which will give you a +5 bonus. And then 1 of each. If you manage to get 1 of each, you get a +2 bonus on top of whatever their market value is when you sell them. And then finally, 2 pairs is worth a +4 bonus cash. So that's pretty much it. You just advance through the days one by one until you get to day 5. At the end of day 5, everybody sells their open shares if they have any left for whatever the market value happens to be. If you have high-risk shares, you sell those at the time. And then if you've sold the most of each share, if you're the player that sold the most of each share, you will get a +5 bonus for that as well. So if you happen to sell the most Baltos Bears, you would get +5 cash. Maybe some other player, sells the most of Nuketown, so they would get +5 cash. Or maybe you had the most Baltos Bear shares sold, and that's including the high-risk shares, by the way. You had the most Baltos Bear shares and the most Nuketown shares, so you would get +5 for having the most of Baltos Bears. You would get +5 for having the most of Nuketown, giving you a total of +10 for end-game scoring. And then, of course, the player with the highest cash in their bank at the end of the game wins. All right, thanks for watching this video. Hopefully you were able to learn how to play Markets of Meer from it. Let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed the game, and please, if you do enjoy the game, vote for it on the Game Crafter. This is a contest after all, so if you like the game, be sure to thumbs up it on the Game Crafter website for me. That would be awesome. And also, if you like the video and my presentation, I guess, be sure to like, subscribe, all that fun YouTube stuff. And until next time, hey man, this is VP. I am signing off. We'll see you later, and hey, keep on gaming.